Greetings, folks. If you want to use an open source document editor, LibreOffice is probably your best bet. This video will show you some tips to improve compatibility with Microsoft Office and generally just get it looking better, because as you can see, it looks kind of terrible right now. So the first thing we'll want to do is put it in dark mode. So we go to Tools, Options, open the big LibreOffice tab, Appearance, and here you'll want to set it to dark mode if your general system is not already in dark mode and it's not automatically detecting that. For me, this is fine. Then uncheck Use White Document Background. In the icon section here, you can browse through and look for a dark themed icon set, particularly an SVG icon set if you have a high resolution display. I find that Sakapura looks best, in my opinion. As you can see, it's more colorful and the icons are easier to read, in my opinion. Hit Apply, then OK. It'll ask you to restart. And as you can see, this opens up now in dark mode. The next thing you might want to do is enable hardware acceleration, which might make the application a little bit snappier. So we go back to Tools, and then Options, and then View, and then click Use Hardware Acceleration. This can actually cause glitches and slowdowns on some systems, so if you notice problems once you enable this, just come back here and disable it. Next, you might want to change this toolbar view to be more like the ribbon toolbar that's used on Microsoft Word these days. To change that, we go to View, and then User Interface, and then UI mode. You can set it to tabbed here, and that's more like what Microsoft Office uses these days. You can apply it just to Writer or apply to all the LibreOffice suite of applications. And as you can see, we go to our ribbon tab here. One other thing to consider is fonts. So if we go and search, some of the standard common fonts you'll see on Microsoft Word documents are not available here. Like if we look for, Times New Roman, that's just not here. Note that if you are running LibreOffice on Windows, you won't need to do any of this. Microsoft Font should already be installed. But if you're on Linux, here's what you'll need to do. The way to handle this is to install the Microsoft fonts on your system. Now, there are various ways to do this. There are different applications for this. There are different packages you can download depending on your distribution. You can look up these options, but the most distro agnostic and universal way to do this is to simply put the font files onto your local system. So if we go to my file browser here, you'll see I keep a backup of all the fonts that I use, including the Microsoft fonts. And what you'll see are that fonts are just files, these .ttf files. So all of these are some of the common Microsoft fonts like Calibri, Times New Roman. The default in Microsoft Word now is Aptos, and so that's here. You can get these font files by pulling them off an existing Windows install or through some of those various other package managers and downloaders that I mentioned earlier. Aptos is publicly available for download on Microsoft's website if you Google it. I won't provide too much instruction here, but you can definitely get access to these fonts if you want them. I also have a folder with all the other fonts that I've used over the years. So what you'll want to do is take all of your fonts, copy them, and then go into home.local, and then the share directory. You can just copy that path into your file browser. Note that .local is a hidden file because of the period there, so if you're trying to manually browse for this, you won't see it unless viewing hidden files is enabled in your file browser. Once you're at this path, you're going to want to create a new fonts folder if that's not already created, and then paste your files into that folder. Then you open a terminal. It can be at any directory, it doesn't need to be in this directory. And then you run this command, fc-cache-f-v. And once it's done, all those fonts will be available on your system. If we close and reopen a new LibreOffice Writer window, you'll see that Times New Roman, for example, is now available as a font to select. And if you want to change the default fonts, you can go to Tools, Options, go to whichever program you want to change the defaults for, and you'll see these basic font settings. You can change these to any one you desire. And the last thing you might want to do is make some minor tweaks to make LibreOffice more compatible with Microsoft Office formats. So we can go back to Options. Here under General, if you want to use DOCX formats by default, you can change that here. However, note that if you're using Zotero, you have to keep it in .odt, which is fine. Microsoft Word can read .odt formats. The next thing is to go to the Microsoft Office tab. Make sure all of these are checked, including the Smart Art. Hit Apply. Then under LibreOffice Writer, go to Compatibility. You want to check Use Word Compatible Font Metrics, and also check Word Compatible Trailing Blanks. Hit Apply. And now when you open a DOCX document, the formatting should generally be pretty close to what you would see if you opened it natively in Microsoft Word. Again, the problem here is that Microsoft Word does not actually comply with any real published open document standard. So that's why we have these compatibility problems occasionally. But for basic documents, you can open them and people can open the documents you create just fine. I hope that's helpful. Take care, folks.